For years, I felt like I was a prisoner in my own body. I was trapped in this demoralizing cycle of extreme workouts and even more extreme diets. But the number on the scale, it just wouldn't budge. I was doing everything I was told I was supposed to do. I ran until my lungs burned. I lifted until my muscles screamed. I ate so much kale, I started to hate the color green. And for all that effort, all that sacrifice, nothing, zero. I was exhausted, I was frustrated, and honestly, I was right on the edge of just giving up completely. But then, I stumbled upon the one thing I was missing. The one piece of the puzzle that changed absolutely everything. And how it all kicked off with a 5-pound drop in a single week. I'm going to tell you how I did it by sleeping for 9 hours a night. And this isn't just about weight loss. This is the story of how changing this one simple habit completely transformed not just my body, but my entire life. And the science behind why it works is probably going to shock you. And it had nothing to do with my expensive gym membership or the organic aisle at the grocery store. In fact, it had nothing to do with being awake at all. In this video, I'm going to share my story of how I finally started losing weight. Before we get into the how, you need to understand where I was coming from. And for the better part of a decade, I was in a prison I built for myself, an obsession with health and wellness. My entire life revolved around a war. Why is fighting against my own body? A typical day for me started before the sun was even up. All day, I would fantasize about the foods I wasn't allowed to eat. Every morning, I'd step on it with this feeling of dread, and that number would dictate my mood for the entire day. I'd collapse into bed around midnight, my mind still racing from the day, from the stress, from the caffeine. I'd scroll on my phone for an hour, thinking I was winding down. I told myself that sleeping 5 or 6 hours a night was a badge of honor. It meant I was a hustler, that I was dedicated, prioritizing workouts and meal prep over something unproductive like sleep. I wore my exhaustion like a trophy, totally clueless that the very thing I was sacrificing was the key to everything I wanted. I thought I was doing everything right, but I was getting it all completely and fundamentally wrong. My body wasn't broken. My willpower wasn't weak. My strategy was just aimed at the wrong target. I was trying to win a war in the gym and the kitchen when the real battle was being lost every single night in my own bed. If it was down a little, I'd feel this tiny moment of relief. If it was up, or even just the same, this wave of failure and self-loathing would just wash over me. I was irritable, I was anxious, and I was just deeply unhappy. By the time evening came around, my willpower was completely shot. I'd fight these intense primal urges for something, anything, salty or sweet. And more often than not, I'd lose that battle. That would lead to a late-night binge, which would just leave me feeling completely consumed with guilt and shame. I'd promise myself I'd be better tomorrow, that I'd work out harder, restrict even more. It was a miserable, soul-crushing cycle. The alarm would shriek at 5 a.m., and I'd have to drag my aching, always tired body out of bed. Every single thing that passed my lips was weighed, measured, and logged into an app. Chicken breast, broccoli, and brown rice were my life. I treated entire food groups like the enemy. Carbs were evil, fats were forbidden. Sugar was the devil. I tried every diet you can think of: keto, paleo, intermittent fasting, the cabbage soup diet, the grapefruit diet. You name it, I've probably starved myself with it. I've spent hundreds, maybe even thousands, of dollars on programs and powders and plans that all promise to just melt the fat away. I'd chug a black coffee, telling myself it was for performance, but really, it was the only way I could function. Then, it was off to the gym for an hour of what felt like punishment. High-intensity interval training, heavy lifting, grueling cardio. Name it, I did it. I completely bought into the no pain, no gain idea, believing that if I wasn't drenched in sweat and about to collapse, I just wasn't working hard enough. The rest of my day was a masterclass in militant calorie counting, and the result, I was always hungry. Just this constant, gnawing hunger. I was an empty pit of cravings. Mentally, I was a wreck. My entire self-worth was tied to that number on the scale. The irony, the part I couldn't see then, was that I was running on fumes. My breaking point came on a Tuesday. I remember it so clearly. I had just finished a brutal leg day. My diet for the past week had been perfect, and I stepped on the scale, expecting no, praying for a reward. I didn't set my 5 a.m. alarm. I didn't pack a gym bag. I ate a normal dinner without even logging it, and I stumbled into my living room, ready to just zone out. I was scrolling through podcasts, looking for a distraction, when a title caught my eye. It was an interview with a sleep scientist, Dr. Matthew Walker. At the same time, it suppresses leptin, the fullness hormone. All those years of battling insane cravings, that constant hunger I thought was a moral failure. It wasn't about willpower, it was chemistry. My sleep-deprived body was being flooded with hormones that were screaming, eat, while the hormones that should have been whispering you're full were being silenced. I almost skipped it, but the description had a line that just stopped me in my tracks. Those late-night binges weren't a sign of weakness. They were a predictable physiological response to the hormonal mess I was creating every single night. I wasn't failing the diet. The diet was failing my biology. It said something like, the less you sleep, the more you are likely to eat. It had gone up 1.5 pounds. I just stood there, staring at the number, and something inside me just snapped. I was done. I read study abstracts, articles from universities, everything I could find. I learned the damage went even deeper, messing with another critical hormone, cortisol, the stress hormone. Lack of sleep is a massive stressor, and it makes your body pump out excess cortisol. High cortisol, I learned, not only cranks up your appetite for junk food, but also tells your body to store fat, specifically around your belly. That stubborn belly fat I'd been fighting with endless crunches. I was literally programming my body to hold on to it by staying up late. Could it really be that simple? I'd spent a decade demonizing carbs and glorifying burpees, and maybe the real villain all along was my 6-hour sleep schedule. I realized I'd been trying to fix a software problem by beating up the hardware. I was trying to out-exercise a hormonal imbalance that I was creating myself every single night. The solution wasn't another diet, wasn't a new workout plan. The solution was to just surrender, to stop fighting my body and finally give it the one thing it had been begging for all along: a good night's sleep. It sounded too good, too easy to be true. How could something as passive as sleeping be more powerful than an hour of sprinting? My entire fitness philosophy was built on more effort, more intensity, more grind. The idea of getting results through rest felt like a completely foreign concept. I couldn't live like this anymore. The emotional and physical toll was just too high for zero return. This scientist wasn't talking about fad diets or magic workouts. He was talking about biology, about hormones. It's the one that tells your brain it's time to eat. Then he described leptin as the satiety hormone, the one that's released from your fat cells and tells your brain, hey, we're good. You can stop eating now. He explained that a lack of sleep isn't just about feeling tired. It's a state of biological crisis for your body. That night, feeling totally defeated, I just gave up. It was such a simple sentence, but it hit me like a ton of bricks. But I was desperate, so I listened. And for the next hour, I was totally captivated. He started talking about two hormones I had never heard of: ghrelin and leptin. He described ghrelin as the hunger hormone, and then came the bombshell. He talked about studies showing that when you're sleep deprived, your body dramatically increases its production of ghrelin, the hunger hormone. I literally paused the podcast. My mind was racing. It was like a light switch had been flipped on in a dark room. Suddenly, I saw my years of struggle in a totally new light. I spent the rest of that night and all the next day falling down a research rabbit hole. That was my aha moment. Total paradigm-shifting revelation. Okay, so let's step back from my story for a sec and get into the actual science here, because it's pretty incredible. When I say sleep changed everything, I'm not being dramatic, being scientific. For years, we've been told that weight management is a simple two-part equation: diet and exercise. But as sleep scientist Matthew Walker says, we now see sleep as the preeminent force in this health trinity. It's the foundation that diet and exercise are built on. Without it, the whole thing falls apart. Let's start with the ringleaders, the hormones ghrelin and leptin. Think of them as your body's appetite managers, the little angel and devil on your shoulder telling you when you're hungry. Ghrelin is often called the go hormone, or as I like to call it, the gremlin hormone. It's made in your stomach, and its main job is to go to your brain and yell, "I'm hungry, feed me." When ghrelin is high, your appetite is high. Simple. Leptin is the opposite. It's the stop hormone. It's made by your fat cells, and it signals to your brain, we've got enough energy stored. You can put the fork down now. When leptin is high, you feel full and satisfied. In a well-rested body, these two work together in a nice, balanced rhythm. But when you don't get enough sleep, that rhythm turns into total chaos. Study after study has shown that even a single night of bad sleep can throw this whole system off. Your body dramatically ramps up production of the hunger gremlin, ghrelin. There was one study where guys who got only 4 hours of sleep had way more ghrelin than when they got a full night's rest. So, you feel hungrier. But at the same time, your body slams the brakes on leptin. A major Stanford study found that people who slept only 5 hours a night had over 15% less leptin compared to those who slept 8 hours. Let's put that together. Your body is being flooded with a hormone telling you to eat more, while the hormone that tells you you're full has been gagged and tied up in a closet. The result? You're a walking, talking, craving machine. And what do you crave? Not celery sticks. Your sleep-deprived brain wants quick, easy energy. It wants high-calorie, high-sugar, high-fat foods. This isn't a failure of character. It's just biology, triggered by a lack of sleep. But the hormonal havoc doesn't stop there. We have to talk about cortisol. Cortisol is the famous stress hormone. It's part of our ancient fight-or-flight response. The problem is, your body sees a lack of sleep as a major threat to its survival. So, it does what it's programmed to do. It pumps out cortisol. Normally, cortisol levels are highest in the morning to wake you up, and then they drop off through the day. But with chronic sleep deprivation, your cortisol levels can stay high, leading to a constant, low-grade state of stress. This is a disaster for weight management for two reasons. First, it directly fires up your appetite, especially for so-called comfort food. The exact sugary, fatty stuff your ghrelin-soaked brain is already screaming for. Second, cortisol encourages your body to store energy as fat, particularly visceral fat. That's the most dangerous kind of fat, the stuff that wraps around your organs and is linked to all sorts of chronic diseases. So by skipping sleep, you're not only making yourself hungrier, you're also telling your body to take any extra calories and store them right on your belly. Now, let's talk about the pure numbers. This is the part that really blew my mind. There was this huge study in JAMA Internal Medicine that took a group of overweight adults who normally slept less than 6.5 hours a night and had them sleep for just over an hour longer. They didn't give them a diet. They didn't give them an exercise plan. They just taught them how to sleep better. The results were astounding. On average, the people who slept more, without trying, just naturally started eating 270 fewer calories a day. Some cut back by as many as 500 calories. They didn't have to use willpower. Their bodies, now hormonally balanced, simply stopped asking for the extra food. Think about that. A 270-calorie deficit per day just from sleeping more. Over a year, that adds up to a potential 28-pound loss without changing anything else. This is the effortless part that makes this so powerful. It's not about adding more struggle. It's about removing the biological roadblocks that make losing weight feel impossible. Finally, there's your metabolism and your internal body clock, your circadian rhythm. Basically, every single cell in your body has its own little clock that controls its processes, including how it handles food. When your sleep schedule is all over the place, you throw all those clocks out of sync. This can lower your overall metabolic rate, meaning you burn fewer calories just existing. It also messes with your insulin sensitivity. That means your body has to work harder to manage blood sugar, which is a perfect recipe for storing fat. Like Matthew Walker says, when you're sleep deprived, your body becomes unable to manage those calories effectively. It's a perfect storm for weight gain, and it's all orchestrated by a lack of sleep. So we've just covered the incredible and frankly, mind-blowing science of why sleep is the most powerful and overlooked tool for managing your weight. We've seen how it controls your hunger hormones, your stress levels, and even how many calories you eat without you even realizing it. Now that you get the why, you're probably wondering about the how. What were the exact, practical, step-by-step changes I made to go from a sleep-deprived, frustrated mess to consistently getting 9 hours of life-changing sleep a night? Before I walk you through my exact 5-step system that kick-started that initial 5-pound loss and transformed my health. If this is all clicking for you, if you're having your own aha moment right now, do me a quick favor and hit that like and subscribe button. My whole mission with this channel is to help you cut through the noise and find science-backed, compassionate ways to get healthy ways that work with your body, not against it. Your support helps me reach more people who are stuck in the same frustrating cycle I was. Okay, are you ready to get the blueprint? Let's get into the practical steps you can start using tonight. Alright, so this is where it gets real. Discovering the science was one thing, but actually putting it into practice was the real game changer. I didn't just decide to sleep more. I decided to treat sleep with the same seriousness I used to give my workouts and my diet. I came up with this 5-step system for myself that totally rebuilt my relationship with rest and in turn, rebuilt my body. This is exactly how I did it. Step 1. The unwavering schedule. The first and most important step was to get my body's internal clock, my circadian rhythm, back on track. Our bodies thrive on routine. For years, my routine was pure chaos. I'd go to bed at 11 p.m. one night, 1 a.m. the next, then try to catch up on weekends. That's basically giving your body jet lag without ever leaving your house. So I made a new, non-negotiable rule, a fixed wake-up time. I chose 6:30 a.m., and I mean 6:30 a.m. every single day, Monday through Sunday. Holidays, my birthday, no exceptions. This is the most important anchor for your sleep cycle. Your wake-up time trains your body when to be alert and, as a result, when to start feeling sleepy later. To hit my 9-hour goal, I set a bedtime of 9:30 p.m., a hard bedtime. Not a start thinking about bedtime, but an in-bed, lights-out time. The first week was honestly brutal. As a natural night owl, being in bed at 9:30 p.m. felt ridiculous. I wasn't tired, my mind was racing, but I stuck with it. I'd read a boring book until my eyes got heavy. And after about 5 or 6 days of forcing that schedule, something kind of magical happened. I started to naturally feel tired around 9 p.m. My body was actually learning the new rhythm. Consistency was the foundation for everything. Step 2. Creating the sleep sanctuary. My next step was to fix my environment. I had to turn my bedroom from a multi-purpose hangout spot into a Kiva sanctuary for nothing but sleep. The goal is to make your room as dark, quiet, and cool as you possibly can. First, darkness. I became a vampire. I got a set of good blackout curtains that made the room pitch black. I went around the room with little pieces of electrical tape and covered every single tiny LED light on the TV. The power strip, the air purifier. You'd be amazed how much those little lights can mess with your sleep. Any light exposure tells your brain it's daytime and stops the release of melatonin, the key hormone that makes you sleepy. Second, temperature. Your body temperature needs to naturally drop a couple of degrees to get into and stay in a deep sleep. I set my thermostat to a cool 65 degrees Fahrenheit, which is around 18 Celsius. It might feel a little cold at first, but keeping your room cool is one of the best things you can do for your sleep quality. Third, and this was a big one, the phone had to go. The bedroom became a strict no-screen zone. An hour before my 9:30 bedtime, my phone got plugged in to charge. In the living room, this got rid of the temptation to scroll and blast my brain with that sleep-killing blue light right before bed. Step 3. The evening wind-down ritual. You can't go from 100 miles an hour to a dead stops. The second your head hits the pillow, you need a buffer zone, a transition that signals to your body and brain that the day is over and it's time to rest. I created a simple 30-minute wind-down ritual that I followed religiously. It started with a warm, not hot shower. The warm water raises your body temp a little, and when you get out into the cool air, that rapid drop in temperature helps make you feel sleepy. Next, I'd make a cup of caffeine-free herbal tea, like chamomile or valerian root, which are known to be calming. While I sipped my tea, I would do what I call a brain dump. I kept a notebook by my bed, and I'd write down everything that was on my mind, any worries. My to-do list for tomorrow, random ideas. Getting it out of my head and onto paper stopped it from swirling around when I was trying to fall asleep. Finally, the last 10 minutes were for some light stretching and simple breathing exercises. Nothing intense, just gentle moves to release any tension, followed by a few minutes of just focusing on my breath, a long inhale, a longer exhale. This simple practice helped calm my nervous system and shift me out of that fight-flight mode I had been living in. Step 4. Calibrating my diet and exercise for sleep. I realized pretty quickly that my new sleep-first life meant I had to adjust my old diet and exercise habits. It wasn't about restriction, it was about smart timing. The first rule was a strict caffeine curfew. I love coffee, but caffeine stays in your system for a really long time. So, I made a rule. No caffeine of any kind after 12 p.m. No coffee, no tea, no diet soda. This made sure that by my 9:30 p.m. bedtime, the stimulant effects were long gone. I had to be honest about alcohol. Like a lot of people, I thought a glass of wine in the evening helped me relax and fall asleep faster. And it does at first. But what I learned is that alcohol is terrible for sleep quality. It messes up your sleep cycles and prevents you from getting into those deep, restorative stages that are so important for your hormones and recovery. I cut out alcohol on weeknights completely, and the difference I felt the next morning was night and day. Meal timing was also huge. I made sure to eat my last big meal of the day at least 3 hours before bed. Going to bed on a full stomach can cause indigestion and disrupt your sleep while your body is busy digesting. If I was hungry, a small protein-rich snack an hour before bed was fine, but no more heavy, late-night dinners. Finally, I switched up my workout schedule. Those punishing 5 a.m. sessions were replaced with mid-morning or late afternoon workouts. Intense exercise raises your core body temperature and cortisol, which is great during the day, but awful right before bed. Moving my workouts earlier meant I got all the benefits without wrecking my wind-down ritual. Step 5. The mindset shift and the results. This last step is the glue that holds it all together. I had to fundamentally change my mindset. I had to stop seeing sleep as a luxury or a sign of laziness and start seeing it for what it is, the single most effective thing you can do for your health. Sleep became a non-negotiable appointment with myself. So, What happened? After that first week of sticking to these 5 steps and hitting my 9-hour sleep goal every night, the changes were, honestly, stunning. The first thing I noticed was the silence, screaming, non-stop cravings that had ruled my life for a decade. They just went quiet. I wasn't fighting myself all day. I had steady energy from morning till night. My mood was stable. And I actually had the energy for my workouts, which started to feel invigorating instead of punishing. And then, at the end of that first week, I stepped on the scale. The numbers showed I was down 5 pounds. Now, let me be super clear about this. Was all of that 5-pound pure body fat that melted away in 7 nights? Of course not. Science tells us that a big chunk of that initial drop was likely from a reduction in inflammation and water weight. My body, finally free from being blasted with high cortisol, let go of the excess water it was holding on to. But that number on the scale was the proof I needed. It was a real, visible sign that this was working. It was the spark that gave me the motivation to keep going. And as I kept going, over the next few weeks and months, the fat loss was steady, consistent, and it felt effortless. It felt like I was working with my body for the first time, instead of being at war with it. If you take one thing away from my story, let it be this. For years, I was stuck on a hamster wheel of punishment. I punished myself with workouts I hated and with diets that left me miserable. I thought the path to the body I wanted was paved with more effort, more pain, and more sacrifice. I was wrong. The path was paved with pillows. Trying to build a house on a foundation of sand. My health trinity was missing its most important leg. I had diet and exercise, but without sleep, the whole thing was unstable and bound to collapse. The science is undeniable. When you're sleep deprived, you are fighting an uphill battle against your own biology. Your body is flooded with hormones that make you hungrier and less satisfied. Your stress levels shoot up, telling your body to store fat, and your metabolism slows down. You simply cannot out-train or out-diet a body that's in a state of hormonal chaos. My journey started with a 5-pound drop on the scale in 1 week, which was a sign my body was finally finding its balance. But it led to so much more. It led to sustainable fat loss, sure, but it also led to more energy, a better mood, clearer thinking, and a sense of peace I hadn't felt in years. I stopped being at war with my body and started listening to it. So I want to ask you, what if you stopped punishing yourself? What if instead of adding another workout or cutting more calories, you just added an extra hour of sleep? The answer you've been looking for might not be in a diet book or a fitness app. It might not require more sweat or more sacrifice. The power to truly transform your body, your health, and your life might be waiting for you tonight. The moment you decide to turn off the screens, dim the lights, and just surrender to the profound power of sleep. You don't need another punishing plan. You might just need an earlier bedtime. If this story resonated with you, please let me know in the comments below. What is the one tip from this video that you are going to try tonight? I'd love to hear about your journey. And please, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more science-backed, compassionate approaches to health and wellness. Thanks so much for watching, and sweet dreams.